world, we think of like ice cream cones or construction cones. So now we're going to be trying to find the volume of a cone, which is measuring the capacity that a cone is able to hold. So that might be water or air or ice cream or whatnot, whatever, but it's the total capacity of what could be filled in that cone. So the formula for the volume of a cone is extremely similar to the formula for the volume of a cylinder. There's only one major difference. The only difference between the volume of a cylinder and the volume of a cone is the 1/3. So essentially, a cone is the volume of a cylinder divided by 3. So a cone is 1/3 of a cylinder. So here, pi still represents pi, r still represents the radius, which is halfway across the circular side, and then the height here is actually going to be the slant height. So it's going to be the height of the slanted side of the cone. So we have our first cone. 8 is representing the height, and then 4 is representing the radius. So the slanted side here is not the true height of the cone. They've got to show us the height from the base to the top point of the cone. So if they ever tell us the slant height, that's not exactly what we need for the volume formula. Now when we start getting into Pythagorean theorem next week, we're going to talk a little bit more about slant height. But right now we need the height that goes straight up and down from the base to the top of the cone. So for this formula, our radius is 4 and our height is 8. So the formula was to do pi r squared h, and you could either divide it by 3 or you could do 1/3 times pi r squared h, and it would mean the exact same thing. So for this particular one, we're going to use 3.14 for pi. And so when we plug it in, we're going to do 3.14 times the radius squared. So we said the radius is 4, so times 4 to the second power, times the height, which we see is 8. So we could work that out and then divide it all by 3, or we could have typed in our calculator 1/3 times 4 squared times 3.14 times our height of 8. So there's a couple of different ways you can type it in. You just have to make sure that you have all the different pieces of the formula and that the radius is the thing that's being brought to the second power. So either way, let's type it in and see if we get the same answer. I got approximately 133.97 meters cubed. So if they say to round to the nearest tenth, that would bump that up to 134 because the 7 would make the 9 round up. Right now, if we say to round to the nearest hundredth, then we're fine. So our answer is 133.97 meters cubed. If instead they had said express in terms of pi, the only difference is in our formula, we would not have multiplied by 3.14. We would keep that 3.14 out of our formula because we're going to leave pi in our answer. So if instead we had to do it in terms of pi, we would do 4 to the second power, so the radius squared, times the height, all divided by 3. And then we're going to leave pi as a part of our answer. So when I just work out the rest of the formula, we get 42.6 repeating. Yep, 42.6 pi. So 42.6 pi would be our answer in terms of pi. So you just have to, again, watch for the directions of how they want you to solve it. So our next example, this time our height is given as well. It's straight up and down from the base to the tip of the cone, so our height is 6. But this time the measure is all the way across the circle. So I have to remember that that's diameter. Radius is only halfway, so I need half of this measurement. So our radius is just half, which is 3. So again, the volume of a cone is 1/3 pi r squared h, or you can do pi r squared h and divide it all by 3, whichever one you feel is easier. So I personally like just doing it all divided by 3. So if we do it using 3.14 for pi, we would have 3.14 times the radius squared, so times 3 to the 2nd power, times our height of 6, all divided by 3. So when we work this out, let's see if we get the same answer. I got 56.52. 56.52. So that would be 56.52 kilometers cubed. If instead they told us to solve in terms of pi, we would know that pi is already a part of our answer, so we're going to have pi with our answer, and we would have just done the radius squared times the height divided by 3, and we would have left the 3.14 out. So we would have 3 squared times 6, all divided by 3. Let's see what that is. That is 9 times 6, all divided by 3. That comes out to be 18. So it would be 18 pi kilometers cubed. So that would be if they had told us to leave our answer in terms of pi, which means leave pi as a part of the answer and just work out the rest of the formula. So from here, you should have 2 examples of cones to try. So again, be careful with the directions. Make sure that you are calculating it the way they ask. If it says use 3.14, then do that. If it says express in terms of pi, then leave pi as a part of your answer. So go ahead and try those 2 problems.